How the historical method settles gospel authorship. I'm tired of hearing the lie that the gospels were anonymous, okay? We're going to stop that lie right now. People constantly say the gospels are anonymous, but that's not a historical argument. It's a conclusion. Let's test that conclusion using the historical method, the same method used on every Greco-Roman document out there. The historical method asks one simple question: which explanation best fits all the available historical evidence? Historians examine 6 things: internal attestation, internal evidence, multiple attestation, manuscript tradition, historical context, inference to the best explanation. Now let's apply those tests. First, external attestation. Our earliest Christian sources don't say nobody knows who wrote the Gospels. Instead, they attribute them to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's evidence that must be explained or ignored, if you'd like. Second, internal evidence. Mark fits the ancient tradition that he recorded Peter's preaching. Luke openly says he investigated eyewitness testimony. Matthew reflects a deeply Jewish perspective and identifies himself as the tax collector. John repeatedly claims eyewitness testimony stands behind his gospel. None of those prove authorship by themselves, but they are consistent with the traditional attributions. Third, manuscript tradition. When the gospel titles appear, they're remarkably consistent. According to Matthew, according to Mark, according to Luke, according to John, and there's no rivals to them. There are no surviving manuscripts of the same canonical gospels attributed to Peter, Thomas, James, or anyone else, okay? So they're always consistently Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. Fourth, historical context. Mark and Luke weren't even apostles. If the early church simply invented names to give these books authority, why choose 2 relatively minor figures instead of Peter or James? That's exactly the opposite of what we'd expect from deliberate forgery, which is what the anonymous, theory postulates. Now let's turn the historical method around. If the Gospels were originally anonymous, the anonymous theory has its own burden of proof. Show us. Where's the early document saying nobody knew the authors? Where's the 2nd century controversy over gospel authorship, where they're debating it? Where are the competing manuscript traditions? Who attached the names? When did they do it? How did churches spread across the Mediterranean all arrive at the same 4 names without leaving any competing tradition behind? Those are historical questions, and the anonymous theory has to answer them. The historical method doesn't demand absolute certainty, okay? That's not what the historical method is. It doesn't give us absolute certainty. It just tells us what are the best explanation with the facts that we have. It asks which explanation best accounts for all the evidence. When you consider the early external testimony, the internal coherence of the Gospels, the stable manuscript tradition, the historical context, and the complete absence of rival authorship traditions, the traditional authorship explains the evidence better than the theory that 4 anonymous books were later given names without leaving a trace. That's not an appeal to church authority, that's the historical method. For more like this, subscribe to Sword of Truth Apologetics.